Sorry, maybe I am running.
Now you're good.
May I have a motion to approve the increase in loan for Southwind Forestry as discussed in executive session?
So you get.
Oh, I agree.
Thanks. Is there discussion about this? Any comments?
It'd be well to hear your comments and Denise on public record. And Danny, I'm sorry.
You want me to say them again?
Yes.
Yeah, Gabe is a leader in the industry. He promotes best practices and the professionalism overall. Just a really credible business and individual.
Indeed, I second that.
Mhm.
Any
I was
other?
just gonna add that this program has been very
I wanted to ask.
helpful, so we appreciate that and we're ready for the next approval of.
I was gonna ask how much like,
funds. So we've.
we have to go after them, where we've gotten them through Clean Water Initiative funding.
Yeah, so I think we, to date with this approval, we've closed $1.4 million in loans supported by this program. So this pushes us and again, better than what's approved. But so we should be close to 2 million at this point, and that subsidy money is stretched out. So we're keeping an eye on when it's set to run out, and we've got a little runway left, but it seems like it's obviously very popular.
Right.
So we would much appreciate it.
I will have it all right now. Get them from the water board meeting.
Well, we also, I mean, many of these forestry applicants were new, right? New borrowers to VEDA, so it's really opened up and broadened our reach. It's great.
And we work with the industry associations that are helping to really promote it as well.
Yeah.
PLC and VFBA.
Is it a safe assumption to say that also means our geographic diversification goal, because these aren't in.
Mainly rural. Yes, yes.
A lot in southern Vermont as well, which is a nice diversification geographically.
Anything else?
We need to state the amount.
So the amount of the loan is an increase from 275,000 to 350,000 for Southwind Forestry. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Eric, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Nice
Yeah,
job, Eric.
thank you all. And, as always, thanks to the team and Kim for working as a credit analyst on this one.
Thanks.
Aren't you glad you didn't drive 2 hours this time?
Yeah, probably worth the call. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
So the next item of business is any other business. And one thing we haven't done and we have time for is if there's any sort of area comment. People
Sure,
want to speak
that's right.
about their own areas or things that are happening in the world. I mean, I would say, in relation to the last approval, it's a very tough time in the forestry industry. Very high quality hardwood logs are selling well, but medium and low value are not worth much, except firewood is strong because of the increase in petroleum cost, but you can't make a living just selling firewood. And low value softwood market is terrible, and quality softwood, spruce fir in particular, a lot of us in the northern Vermont depend on, has declined again. So in addition to that, we have extremely wet conditions in the woods right now, so entry to the woods is very difficult. It's a challenging time. It's every bit as challenging as it is for the dairy industry. So that we have a borrower who has adopted technology that's softer on the soil and on the land is good, but he's still going to be challenged.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Prices are just horrible. So
What do you see as far as building capacity? Seems like Aspen County's gotten wiped out.
northern capacity is declining, and a lot of our logs, our best quality logs, are still being exported. Of course, Canada has been our market for a long time. A lot of high quality hardwood is going to China. Now it's been moved to other parts of Southeast Asia, I think, but logs go right from the landing into containers, and go overseas.
Plan all that lumber.
Well, there is a rule that's hurting affordability of housing called BABA, Build America, Buy America. That should, you would think, improve the timber situation a little bit, but I don't think it happens. And it's certainly increased the cost of housing in our area a lot. So unintended consequences. Do others have comments about things in their world before we?
I'll add on to, I appreciate the update. It's pretty grim right now. We are waiting any day now. Hopefully we'll hear from the National Science Foundation for a $16 million grant for the region to support the first economy, which is going to be looking at investments in manufacturing capacity in the region, workforce development, and sort of precision forestry in the woods. And if we get this grant, it would be almost, if we keep going, we would get this amount of money every couple of years. It's up to $160 million. So this could be transformational for us in the region.
Northern Forest Center?
Yes, yep. And we had a visiting team from across the nation come visit us. That was maybe March. So any day, fingers crossed, we're hearing good signals that this could be expected to come in.
I know they've been informed of their of the outcome, but it's not public yet. So it'll be. Well, I'm on the board.
Oh. Do I need to meet outside?
So it will be.
Okay,
So what is the labor situation as far as,
not great.
yeah, I mean,
It's,
we talked about more manufacturing and more of these incentives, but we don't have the people to do it. What happens?
it's an area to work on. Vermont Technical, Vermont Tech. I'm saying I get. Yeah, Randolph, I think Randolph.
Vermont State.
Yeah, you're not the only one. They are starting a new course for milling. It's gonna be a certificate course. And they'll start with 2 classes, I think, this fall, which is encouraging. And then through Working Lands Enterprise Initiative, working with professional logging contractors, we're sending 2 young students coming out of tech colleges to go for an intense logging course over the summer. Small impact, but we're trying, but we could certainly do more. It's
And thank
aging.
you to Farm Credit East.
Yes.
For the scholarships, for their room and board.
Yep.
Because we had asked VEDA as well, and we didn't know if there was any movement there, but of course, we're strung by statute. So then we went to Farm Credit East and just wanted to know if maybe a loan could be given, and they wrote a full scholarship for these young students, which was super exciting.
Yes, it's nice.
So you don't know unless you ask. And you know what? VEDA always takes my calls too, and they don't become crazy, so.
Well, maybe they're good now.
Yeah.
Is there any movement in working cost?
We did a lot of work several years ago when Sam Linking was deputy commissioner. And so we're still maintaining that program. I can't.
We took like the truckers alone and put them into a larger pool with, inclusive of the pool that the ag truckers were in. So they were not just in forestry, which helped bring their rate down substantially. And I mean, you'd hear more on that than I do, but
Yeah, I mean,
it seemed to calm down quite a bit after we made those changes.
yeah, I don't hear much about it, so I think things are working. There's master loggers as one pathway to get better lower rates, and then we have the leak certification process. We have on-site visits to visits. So I think it's okay.
I think with the advent of these harvesting machines and stuff, it's definitely safer in the woods than it used to be.
The mechanized though can be challenging too.
Just following along, the maple industry is in a very good place. We had another good crop, very good, and demand will probably exceed production by next year. So, and prices are up. However, the one discouraging thing is the continued weakness in the Canadian dollar, which greatly impacts the lower price for syrup because 70% comes out of Quebec. But Vermont produced over 50% of the US crop. We'll see continued expansion this year. I'm positive with higher prices. Yeah. So it's a good news story for maple. Those of you connected to the dairy industry know it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah.
But we did have a good window to do cropping. And now it's closed. So those that got cropping got really.
We didn't have that window in Oil and Orleans County, unfortunately, for the early.
I think you had better, I mean, more adoption of no-till has helped a lot.
Yeah.
I remember my day when we were, we plowed in the fall, we waited until it dried out, we went out and harrowed it, then it rained, we went out and harrowed it again, it rained, we went out and harrowed it again, it rained.
We were dragging dump wagons through clay.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
No.
It's a really, you can actually go out on the land within 24 hours of
Right.
storm, which is incredible. I miss my father swearing.
Other,
On the dairy side, I know it can't be good because milk is so cheap in the store, it amazes me. But I heard a rumor that the price of selling milk cows is really high. Is that true?
Oh, very high. That's what's holding
So-
people together.
even calves, it's because of beef.
You better buy a calf, but you
Yeah,
sell
oh,
a
yeah.
calf for $2,000. You don't want to lose a calf.
So how is the industry struggling, but yet the price of the,
That's only a small
It's a
portion of their income.
this time?
I would say at the agency, it's known to us that we've had one disaster after another these last 3 years. So we had flooding and flooding. And last week we had more flooding, particularly in the northern part of Vermont. And then last year with the drought. And it was not common for most who got, first cut off was in abundance, but quality was poor last year. And then there was many places, no second, third or fourth cut. Corn was very dismal as well. The agency has been working for 18 months to secure and finally we're very close to signing a $31.7 million grant with USDA, which will reimburse for some of this disaster relief. Not everything we wanted to be reimbursed was agreed upon in the agreement, but infrastructure losses, and we'll be doing more press release about this soon and outreach to those in our ag industries. So that's some good news. We also snuck in at the end of the session was one of our biggest victories since I've been around, was accessory on farm business being exempt from Act 250. We've had, and maybe you've seen some court decisions. Peacefield Farm down in Woodstock has been tied up for, I want to say 5 years, trying to open up a restaurant. So that we should see open up soon, which is exciting.
So you got the exemption.
Yeah, Representative Burt was brave to bring it forward. It was found to be unfavorable by both committees of jurisdiction, so House Environment, Ways and Means, and usually the member would withdraw the amendment in that case. But brave enough to keep it in there, and typical farmer fashion was apologizing for wasting everybody's time, calling roll calls on the vote, and then to his surprise, it passed 77-66. It then went back to the Senate, and we were afraid it was going to be pulled out in totality, but Representative Chapin was working with many and all sides, and we were able to keep most of it intact as it went across the finish line. So that was exciting. That was another good thing in Act 181. You may have seen some clarification on the H2A program and dairy being eligible that just came out from the federal administration. Dairy's always been eligible. Many use it across the nation, but mostly to bring in H2A workers to help with their seasonal, temporary, or peak load need around crops. So we will continue to answer those questions. It's still not available for year-round employment. I'm sure we could make the case that if you're out doing crops and you need individuals in to cover and milk cows, well, we're doing crops that they could also qualify for milking cows during that seasonal nature. We and the US domestics are out doing field work. So more to come on that. I did look yesterday, and there are many across the nation that are using the program for dairy, but it is majority crop driven.
But it's still seasonal, okay?
Yeah, seasonal temporary, so it doesn't fix that year-round employment. Yeah, as a gal that grew up on a dairy farm, I think US domestics that want to drive truck and spread manure may milk cows for 8 weeks out of the year, and you could have H2A workers for 10 months out of the year. So it may not work, and it likely won't work for all farms, but there is that opportunity to try it. Paraquat is an herbicide that's used. The legislature has moved to a ban by 2030. It's available for use, but you have to get a permit from the agency. There's not many that use it, but it is related to Parkinson's. The Michael J. Foundation worked this year to reach that resolution. So we will be giving out exemptions for that or permits for that as needed. Neonics, I think you saw probably 2 years ago now, we're going to be phasing out neonicotinoids, which is your treated seeds on corn and soy, mostly other seeds in the United States used but widely on soybeans and corn in the state of Vermont. We tied our law to New York, so if New York doesn't move forward with it, we don't move forward with it. So far, there's no seed companies in abundance providing non-treated seeds. So we've put forward best management practices out that went through the Legislative Committee on Rules, which is LCAR, and is live on our site. And then again, if we can't get seeds, we're going to be in a position of having to issue exemptions at the agency. So those are a few things that have come up. Hemp continues to be a situation. We got some good legislation this year with our state legislature, but federally, we still need to see some movements. I think we have a federal law coming up in November that could be problematic, but as you're well aware, the state and federal law has not been in sync, and these folks continue to move business, noting that federal and state are not in sync. And we have some very
Tax treatments are a big one.
yeah, and we have some very successful businesses in the state of Vermont. I mean, we have some individual businesses that went to Texas this last week, and of course, Vermont was rising to the top with what they were providing. So we'll continue to support them as we can. We all know the news that has come up with DFA going idle and shutting down the store and the co-op in St. Albans. We will continue to have meetings. Governor has Capital for a Day coming up. And so internally meeting, we will be working with those. We'll be looking or seeking employment to move or education, as well as having discussions about the future of the plant with those that are interested. So that's what we're a little bit of what we're up to.
So the extra money for crop failure is nice, but you gotta be able to find crops to replace it.
Mhm.
And luckily, there's still some farmers who grow corn for sell as kernel corn. They're not corn. But anyway, so you understand what that is. So those farmers can make more money selling it at silage. So that works as long as there's people growing that type of corn. Doesn't always happen. And buying hay, you can't make hay, neighbors can't make hay either, so.
Right.
Anyone else have anything you'd like to bring from their shop?
Anything from the banks? You're the only bank here.
No, again, I think, the interest rates are still on everybody's mind. I don't, we're not predicting huge swings one way or the other. We talked about it now, committee, and 3 months ago, they were pricing in rate cuts still towards the end of the year. Now they're pricing in maybe some hikes. We'll believe it when we see it. The ability for this deal in the Middle East to stick, I think really influences what happens going forward with interest rates. We're still seeing decent deal flow, although not as aggressive as we've seen in the past few years. There's still borrowers looking to expand their business, but not to the extent that we've seen in the past 2 or 3 years. deposit gathering, liquidity is still important for all of Vermont banks to be able to lend and maintain some margins, but, and again, in my neck of the woods, as Allison talked about, it's been the closure of the St. Albans cooperative plant. It's been a tough week for light manufacturing, or a tough couple of months for light manufacturing in Franklin County anyways. You had Franklin Foods in Enosburg that has and is in the process of shuttering. There's Perigo in the Georgia Industrial Development part that I think they're now or at the end of this next week is shutting down in totality, which for a period of a year or two, when they first announced a reduction in staff, there was speculation that that plant would just not totally shut down, and I guess that is the case. But you're talking somewhere around 300-ish jobs in total between those 2 or 3 again plants, and that's not an insignificant amount in anywhere in Vermont, but certainly in Franklin County. So that's kind of put a damper on some of the positive news coming out of it. So.
And just, it's like I should speak to the DFA. So yeah, there are about 85 families that will be affected by this. The plant will remain open through middle of August. Our farmer's milk still being picked up. And we've been in touch with everybody that we're supposed to as far as the state is concerned and so on. The store is closing. There are 3 employees left there. And at this point, the facility has been idled. No decision has been made as to its future. So that's a stay tuned moment. And of course, we're thinking about the folks impacted by Perigo and Franklin Foods. And there is a little bit of a bright spot with Franklin Foods. I don't know if you know John Ovett, but he is a fantastic entrepreneur who loves his. And he has purchased the building and is able to retain some of the business. I think he's going to keep 10 or 15 people. I know Lisa was actively involved in this conversation. So hopefully, there's a need for space in that area. He's got the right connection. So hopefully we'll continue to see that.
And is there still a demand for labor, right?
Yeah, I was mentioning, again, the largest challenge we have with the workforce is that our available workers don't necessarily align with the in-demand jobs. That being said, VEDA's growing. They're adding 1,000 employees over the next year. Again, some of the skill sets might translate, or maybe they can work with workforce development programs to upskill or to right skill, I guess I should say. Global Foundries is doing well. I think that there could be expansion on the horizon for their workforce. So we're hopeful, but people might have to travel a little further than they did before, which is challenging too. And, which comes back to the housing situation. And we continue to hear that, the supply of housing near the workplace is a really big challenge. And we've heard a lot about housing. We're working on that. The Treasurer's Office has been great with that too. We've had a lot of great partnerships. Some people are curious about the Canadian tourism. You brought up the value of the Canadian dollar. And I do want to mention that yesterday I actually went to Canada, or 2 days ago, I went to Canada, and I was amazed by the number of cars lined up to get into the US. Now, maybe they're going to go right through Vermont, but they were, Canadian, they're Quebec license plates. And our tourism relies on, Canadian travelers. It's about 5% overall in the state, but in the northern part of the state, it is 35%. So it's pretty significant. But again, like, one of the struggles has been the rhetoric. The other is the decline in the Canadian dollar. And the other one is national security. Like, there are concerns by some people that they're going to have trouble at the border, so to speak. But hopefully that is like tamped down. It's like calmed down. So hopefully we'll see a good week here, because there was a provincial holiday, and then there's their national holiday. July 1st is Canada Day. So hopefully folks are down here to spend that time.
I'll just add, Lindsay, for state parks, we were down 60% last year with Canadian visitation, and it's rising this year. It's going up this year.
It's great. I mean, and I think we're really fortunate because we've built those relationships over decades. And, so I think folks, there is that pent up demand and, you know, I'd love to believe Vermont is seen a little differently than, you know, what people are seeing out of DC, but we hope that folks are gonna come back and go to the parks and the tourist attractions in Vermont, all over Vermont. So, yeah, so overall that's, and just as, again, as far as the impacted employers, the Department of Labor is working with them, our team's working with them, AG's working with them. We're trying to do everything we can to either support the ongoing, Franklin Foods, for that to go forward and for the others to find homes for the displaced workers.
What do you see in the quality of the younger workforce? I know older generation always complain about the next generation, whatever. But what the trades people I've been talking to say that the younger generation, 20 to 30 or about 35, just don't have the interest in working.
Do you know?
Or they have to be retrained every day to what they need for.
I won't necessarily disagree or agree with this, given that like, I get it, it's a change. And I think that this young workforce, they work differently than, say, you know, my parents and grandparents did, right? It's a different kind of work. And there's a lot of gig work, right? Like people sort of, what do you call it? Yeah, exactly. Where they leave themselves open to sort of do a little here and a little there. So, you know, it's not to say, I mean, I've heard a few stories, you know, you mentioned, I overheard you start, your kid was up at 6 a.m. to go work, right? On the farm. Like, I do think there's plenty of work ethic there, but there is a different frame of mind often. So I think it creates some tension between sort of the one style, of, you know, working is very like, in the moment presence, right? Active work, whereas I think some of this generation is a little bit more like they're creative.
Peter might have a comment, right?
Yeah.
I'm here.
I mean, like we have a group of interns in our office right now and they're go-getters. So I don't know, it might just be the industries or, you know, maybe specific sectors, but.
Our turnover is lower than it had been at any time since COVID. And I would say if you have a goal like we do to be a place where people want to work, then you figure out ways to make it work for both the employer and employee. And I don't share the concern about the next generation relative to our workforce.
People might say that about boomers too.
They
gotta be careful with generalization.
All right, is there anything else we?
Yeah.
I just want to make a note, it's been alluded to a couple times, but the legislature expanded our authority to lend the state's cash balances up to 12.5% from 10. We will be seeking next week approval from the local investment advisory committee to go out to an RFP for another 25 million in housing lending. And so if anyone wants to put in a good word of Joan to let us do that. But it sounds like we'll be receiving an application from VEDA related to CHIP financing, and we'll be very interested to look at that.
Excellent.
Give a little quick update from the Public Service Department perspective. So despite what you may have read in the news regarding the data center bill, that bill we had actually been working hand in hand with the legislature on throughout the first half of the session. There were some late changes made. There was essentially like a tax or a fee imposed in that bill, which would have been essentially a moratorium on data centers. That fee also did nothing to actually protect ratepayers. And so that was a deal breaker for us. What the department had been pushing for was bring your own generation. That, in fact, would have actually helped protect ratepayers. So there was some other issues related to water usage in that bill that ANR opposed. But just to be clear about what that bill did and what it didn't, as well, we had been saying all along from the get-go, the regulations that we actually have in place now are sufficient to regulate data centers. So there's not a concern from our perspective that if a larger data center actually came knocking on our door, that we couldn't actually regulate it in a fashion that protected ratepayers from the tax and not just having them draw off the grid, but actually bring generation. So We'll see, we're contemplating right now kind of how we move forward, if there's some administrative steps that we could take to perhaps fill in or better clarify, I think, which is what some of that bill did in the legislature. Like, again, we said it's sufficient, but if we can clarify, great. So anyways, just a quick update on that. We also proposed moving from the renewable energy standard to a clean energy standard. Doing that is essentially saying, hey, we already have nuclear in our portfolio. It makes up about 18% of our current portfolio. But what we do now is we paper over it with expensive RECs. And so if we were to say, hey, we don't want to just pay for that paper, we should just be transparent and acknowledge what's in our portfolio. That would save us $5 million per year. And so it kind of seemed like a no-brainer. We went to the legislature, proposed this. They were like, that's really not that much for savings. So we said, all right, well, let's talk about more savings. We're open to that, but there was no appetite, no movement on that.
And did you say 18% is the nuclear portfolio? It's part of it?
Yeah, roughly for Vermont,
What does REX mean? Sorry.
renewable energy credits.
You know, those continuing for solar projects that started 6 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, a while ago, you used to get 6 cents a kilowatt credit, now it's down to, when I put mine in, it's 2 cents.
Oh, you're talking about for net, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple different things here. I did want to mention net metering because we had a conversation with VEDA about that. The department actually had proposed keeping, so every 2 years, the PUC redetermines the rates for net metering projects. And because of the affordability crisis that we're in, we're really reassessing all the policy proposals and things that have been supported in the past and whether or not we need to re-examine. Net metering is one of those programs that, essentially the rest of ratepayers are subsidizing for net metering projects. And so we've had hard conversations about whether or not those rates are right. And I know it's hard, especially for VEDA, because some of those projects are customers. And so that could change their financial outlook, but from a broader state policy perspective, the reality is that the rest of ratepayers are subsidizing for those programs, and a lot of low-income Vermonters in particular do not have access to net metering programs.
But on the other side of that, when we build up credit for excess power.
Yeah.
And then if we don't get it used up within a year, it goes back to the
Right.
power company. Me, with the weather changing as much as it did, when I first put my solar in, I had 3 months that were dead pretty much. And now it's this last year is October, November, December, January, I was on the negative side. And so I think maybe there should be a program that expands more than that 1 year. Don't lose it for 2 years or whatever. I talked to Chris Bray about that. I can be a senator. He didn't really, I didn't get very far with him, but anyway.
Yeah.
But
I know.
it seems like we should expand that time period that you can keep your credits.
We'll talk about that later.
Well, battery electric storage, I mean, we just had an incident in Virginia's where that program got nixed. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah, there's been definitely a change in public perception around solar and battery. I think we've seen that over the last year or two, but it's definitely seems like there's a lot of feelings changing, I would say.
Is it a misunderstanding how the electric storage works, battery storage works, or what is
I don't know that it's about how it works. I think it's about
the safety of it is the big issue?
we don't want to look at these things in our backyard.
Yeah.
Sorry, one last thing, just one last thing.
Yeah.
Please.
GMP our major investor-owned utility has just come in for a rate increase. They do a multi-year rate plan also, which is like a 4-year rate plan. They came in asking for a 7.5% increase. The reason why I mentioned this is that GMP is kind of like indicative of what's going to be going on and looking forward for other utilities that are coming in for rate increases. We've projected to see a 5% rate increase every single year over the next 5 years. And frankly, at this point, I kind of feel like in those out years, it's probably gonna be higher. We haven't done an updated projection yet, but that's a lot. Rates are gonna continue to go up. We've seen more rate cases and at a higher level than we have seen ever.
Another reason to keep my credits longer.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, we're right now with just, we're in the middle of this GMP rate case. They came in for 7.5. The department has proposed 5.14. And so we'll see what the PUC decides, but, there's a lot of pressure. And so we're doing what we can to try to keep our rates low,
Thanks.
not just for net metering customers.
Members have any other information that they'd like to audit before we call for?
We know that Sarah changed jobs, right? Like,
Yes, Sarah.
she's part of the RDC network now. Anything from the RDCs or?
No, nothing we haven't talked about, just a lot of projects going on, a lot of energy in Rutland County.
Is there any other business that anyone would like to bring before the authority before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstention? We stand adjourned. Thank you for your patience.
Well done, Dave.
Yeah.